So this runs for the first time and sets the value of I as 0. Now after doing this initialization, one moment. Yeah, sorry. So after doing this initialization, it's going to go to the next statement, so which says I is less than 2. So when you evaluate this statement, instead of I you have to put 0 here. So 0 is less than 2, which is actually true. So in that case, what happens is this block is going to execute. So it's going to log this value, and let me also print the I here. Yeah, you'll be able to see that it says I as 0. So first, let me see. Yeah, it says I as 0 and I as 1. So first what happened is it went into this yeah, it actually executed this block, and after executing this block, now this is the condition which we give. So this is a statement. What happens is after this block is executed successfully, it's going to go to this statement now. So now I plus plus means it's going to increment that value by 1. So now the value of I is going to become 1 from 0. So after incrementing this value, now it will go again to this condition. It's not going to go to this because it happens only for the first time. Remember that. And yeah, this happens only for the first time, and this does not happen only for the first time. Only after executing the first iteration it's going to work. So it is called as an iteration, uh, where uh, where executing one's block inside a for loop is called as iteration. So yeah, so it is going to run multiple times. That is referred by using every iteration. So in every iteration the value of I is going to increase by 1. So for the second time it's going to be yeah, it's going to check that the value is I less than 2, and since that is true, which means that 1 is less than 2, it's going to execute the statement which is going to print us that value 1. Yeah, so next time what will happen is I plus plus again. So in this case I is going to become 2. Then it will check this condition. So 2 less than 2, which is failure condition. What happens is, yeah, when it meets a condition that fails, yeah, it just leaves this code and goes away. Here in our case, let me print so that you'll be able to understand. So this is just a log statement for you to understand. So this is before for loop. Instead of this, let me saving it. You'll be able to see first it executed this, and then it executed iteration of 0. So that's the first value of I. Then it incremented that value and then checked the condition. Since the condition is 1 less than 2, it worked, and it again went into this place where it printed iteration 1. And when it tried to increment the value, it became 2, and after incrementing it compared the condition, so 2 less than 2, which failed, and that's when this comes out of this loop. The execution stops and comes out of this loops and returns to anything that is after that. So after that we have this log statement which prints after for loop. So that's how the execution of for works. Yeah, so in this we don't have anything good yet. So our aim is we saw that, yeah, in YouTube we basically have a video and the thumbnail. So that's what we are trying to replicate here. We have these things. So first let me create something in this page and show you how it is going to look like. I'm going to call this as a playlist item. So here, so this is going to be also a card. So I'm going to have two different classes. I'm having card because it's going to be like some of, it's like a generic type, right? So card is a common name, so you can use it anywhere. So I've used card, and I'm going to create a style for it. Let's say card, going to have a height of usually the width is greater than the height, right? Let's say 200 pixels, and this pixels. Probably I'm not going to add any background. I'm just going to add a shadow here. Save it. So I'm also going to remove this code which is actually adding the value there, so but it does not replace this item. So yeah, you can see that it is now showing a card. I think that's too big. Let me reduce just the height of it. Yeah, I think that looks decent. Mm, okay. We also saw we also read about what is flex. Flex allows you to add flexible items into your element. So we have this div, and we want it to have flexible items. First we'll have the image, just that image. Here I'm going to have that image value, and something we don't seem to be having. I'm going to pick up this image. Yeah. Yeah. So now I'm going to refer to that image by using, yeah, dot slash refers to the current directory. It's inside assets slash images slash, yeah, saving it. Yeah, we can see the whole image showing the page, which is not something that we want. So for that, we also have this font. Let's refer to this font as the, yeah. This is going to say what the save it. So that is useful when this image is not properly loaded. That's when it's going to show. The alt is for just alternate text, which is shown when that image cannot be loaded. Yeah. So here we have this card, and for the image, it's the image is actually inside the video image class. So I'm going to refer to the video image as this. and it should pick up the image inside the video image. So I'm going to make the width as 100%, and you can see the width is taken as 100% for this card, which is actually too much than what it needs. Add a padding of 5 pixels, and I'm going to increase this, okay, so that you'll be able to see that better. Yeah, the width is already more because we have the spacing of padding here, and also we will have this default value inside default spacing given for the element. Told you this before. Adding 0 and margin 0, saving it. Yeah, enter. So here we have this card height as 150. Let me increase this back to 200. So what I'm planning is I'm going to occupy the first 150 height for this. This, yeah. So I'm also going to add the flex property to this. So this playlist item. I'm picking up the playlist items class here. Now it's going to be of display flex because here I'm going to have the image, and underneath I will be having the details about the video type, which is the video title and the likes. So it's going to be a of display flex. So first let me add the video title here. It's going to be in a different info. So here, yeah, when you create a proper class name like this, anyone will be able to identify it. So first it's going to contain, let's say, a span of the title, and then span of the likes. So title is, then we have the likes as 300. Yeah, it's going to look like this because we have this flex, and flex by default has a property called as the flex direction is going to be always as row. So instead of that, I'm going to specify the flex direction as column. So when I save it, you'll be able to see that the value has value is moved to the bottom, because here they're actually having two elements underneath this playlist item, and this playlist item now takes the first value and puts it in top because we have specified it as column, and when it finds the second value, it's going to put it underneath that first value. So that's how a column works. In the case of row, which is the default value, it's going to put one next to another in the same line. So now if I want to move these in the center, I would type justify content center. So yeah, it actually, okay here, if justify center. So what happens is we have this thing which is called as main axis. Main axis in case of a column is from top to bottom. So justify content works for the main axis. So how elements are aligned in the main axis is what justify content looks for, and we have align items, which is for the cross axis. So anything which is perpendicular to the main axis is the cross axis, which is horizontal for us now because we have column as the main axis from top to bottom. So left to right is now the cross axis. So how you can position the cross axis is using align items. So inside align items, if I type center, this text is going to come to the center. Yeah, and we also need that. Yeah, we also need the title and the text. Let me move the title next to this. Yeah, we also need the title and this text to be inside the flex, because we don't need them together like this, shown like this. So what I can do is, yeah, so we have this video info. I'll go here, write a style called video info, and we can write display flex, save it. Now I can say justify. Now the main axis is actually left to right, because it is by default row. We haven't specified any flex direction in this video info, and I'm going to say justify contents space between, which is going to, yeah, it should be okay. It should actually go to the edges. I mentioned something wrong here. So okay, yeah, it actually didn't work. I'm just checking using the inspect. So let's see this. Okay, it seems that the width of this element is actually restricted to its content. So we have to increase that to the maximum width which it can take. So for that, I'm going to specify width 100%. Save it. Now you can see it actually took the whole width. And here I think I can see. Going to increase the value of that image, so size of that image. That's wrong. So it's good to have the height. Yeah. So here, since I've added the width as 100%, previously it was taking the contents width. So that's how it does when we use flex. So I just added width 100%, which is actually 100% of its parent. So the parent of this element is the card itself. So it took the 100%, but yeah, it seems to be sticking at the end. So instead of that, we need it here. This is the overall value for this. Let me create, we have this playlist. For this whole playlist, I'm going to add a padding of 20 px, so that it, yeah, brings the text here. And also, yes, yeah. You also need to move that text here. So it's usually how we will do is have a main class called as container in the top, and inside which we will have all these elements, so that yeah, we can have a specified space around it. So for, I'm going to change the playlist as a container. So now we have some space around this page. So it's always good to have some space, so you will have more readability. And also in case of this playlist, I can add, for this header I'm going to add some margin, which is going to be of px, and I'm going to specify a second value here. So the first, if you, there are multiple ways in which you can give value for margin. So one is when you can give a direct value, which is 10 px. It's going to take 10 px for all the sites. If you want to give values depending on the site, so here, this, if you give two values here, it's going to, the first value is going to refer to the uh, top and bottom margin, and the second value is going to refer to the left and right margin. So if I save it, you'll be seeing that there is a margin added at the top. Let me remove this now. Yeah, you can see that it will get a margin at the top as well as in the bottom, but not on left and right. So if I add some margin on left and right here, you'll be clearly seeing that Yeah, it applies only for the left and right. So since there is nothing on the right, it's nothing is getting pushed. So I'm leaving it as 0. Yeah, we have some space here. So we have added a image. So I'm actually going to, yeah, take this, copy the path of this image, and I'm going to refer it in this object. Yeah, and save it. So for this, yeah, here, yeah, for this video info, I need to, I'm going to add, instead of space between, I'll add space around, which, yeah, which will look something like this. And also I'll add a bold tag here to make the title look bold. That is the title. And likes. So this is how it's going to be. Maybe you can change. Yeah, that's how it's going to be like. So here what we have done is we have this card or the playlist item, and this is containing details of one video inside the playlist. So here what we are going to do now is, instead of creating this HTML from this HTML file, we are going to generate this HTML dynamically by using JS. So here we have this playlist, and I'm going to create the same thing using JS. So how we can do that is, we already have this playlist element saved here. Now I'm going to write a function. So this function is going to be called as create video, create video element. So I'm going to open the curly braces here, and this is going to take this uh, playlist item, so which is referring to this single value inside the playlist. So, and what it will do is, we are just trying to replicate this whole thing inside JS. So let me copy this code. I think only it's still here. I'm going to paste it here and comment this out. So this is just added here because I just want to showcase how we are going to build this element using JS. So here firstly we have this div element, inside which we have these two elements. So first we have to create a div. So let's call it as the playlist. I'll call it as the card. So, and how you can create an element is by using a method called as document dot create element. Inside this, you'll pass the tag name. You can see I'm getting the autocomplete of the all the HTML tags that we have. So I'm going to pass div here because that's the element that we are trying to create. And for the card, I'm going to add. Uh, so there is something called as add class here. Sorry, that is inside a class list. We have a property called as class list. So this card which is going to be created is actually of an object type. So this object is going to have a property similar to this one. It's going to have a property called as class list. So yeah, this is a list, which means it's also an array. And here we have a option called as add um, yeah, we have this add, and inside add you can specify the class name. We saw that we have written two classes for this main tag. So I can send a array here and specify those two things separately. Yeah, here I've added two classes here. So now in this code, we have this for loop. We can now actually go to these two variables. Yeah, sorry, to these two values, which are objects, and I'm going to use that object and pass it over here. Just it's not going to create anything as of now, but let's see what this card looks like. I'm going to log card and save it. So here I'm going to call this function. I just need to use this name, and inside which I have to pass a parameter playlist of I. So which at first time it's going to pass the value of 0, and second time it's going to be 1. Yeah, when I save it, so here, yeah, here you will be seeing, yeah, okay, here not a list. This is how you should give. So you have to give multiple values in comma separated way, but not as a array. Yeah, sorry for that. So what happened is it actually created a div with a class called card and playlist item. That's the name which we have given here. If I remove this, you'll be able to see. Yeah, we have this playlist. So I have this playlist item. So these two classes are added into this card element which we created, and then uh, so inside the card element we have two other div tags. So first is I have to create another element which is for video image. That is also going to be a div, right? Here you can see that it's a div with a class of a video image. I'm going to create a new div, and I will say video image dot again class list dot add. We have this video image as the class list for this. Add this, save it. We'll also print this video image here, and you will see for the first iteration we got this class card and playlist item for the first element, and for the second element we got the, yeah, we got the same thing created again, but you don't see the difference here. So when we can see the differences, I'm going to add this video title for the third element that we are creating. So you saw that we have this third div called as video info, which is having a class called video info, inside which we have two span tags. I'm going to again create two span tags. Same thing, but instead of div, now we are going to specify span here. So yeah, but rest are same. So here I'm going to specify likes, and I'll copy the same thing. Instead of like span, it's going to be title span. I'm going to refer to this as title. Yeah, let's print everything out. I did not change that variable name. It would have thrown me an error. I'm just printing every element that we have created. You can see, okay, we have the first two elements. Okay, I wrongly added this class to this video image tag. So yeah, instead of that, I should be referring to this video info here, like span here. So this is something when you have to be cautious when you're copying and pasting the code. So yeah, now since I changed it, yeah, it works perfectly. So now, yeah, let me keep only the title span here just to show. Uh, Inside this title span, we already saw that we can add. We have a property called inner text. So inside inner text, I'm going to add the title. So let me first print and show you this playlist item. Uh, Playlist item. Yeah. So this is a playlist item, and you can see it's a object. So we can directly pick the video title from it. So I can type video title, and if I type it correctly, yeah, I'll be getting the value of it. So I can get the value of first element. So this is the first element in the array, and this is the second element. So I'm getting the first element after the first iteration, sorry, in the first iteration. So I'm going to use that value here and put it inside this inner text of that span element. So this span is going to contain that, yeah, saving it, yeah, I'm saving it. And now you can see we have two spans created here. The first span has the value of song A, and second span has the value of song B. Now we have actually dynamically created elements from JS. So but then those values are not yet shown in the screen. That's because these values should be added into the uh, playlist element. We haven't done any such code right yet. So we have this playlist element, inside which you can use a property called as dot append child. Okay? Dot append child, and specify the element which you need to add into. Here I'm going to specify only the title element for now for you to see how it works. I'm going to comment this. Yeah, I just commented this card out which we already created. It went off, and yeah, this file got saved. So what happened is these two span tags are now added into the HTML using JS. So this playlist element dot append child is going to add two span tags inside the playlist parent. So this is the playlist. If I collapse it, yeah, you'll be able to see that we have these two values under the playlist. So you can see the hierarchy here. If I click this, you can see it's inside main, inside div containing ID called playlist, where we'll have this span tag. So yeah, that's how it is created. But this is not the structure which we have created from the HTML. So now we have to add this same thing where we'll put the card here. Yeah, you can see that we have two cards here because we have just did append child card, which is this, and since we have added this classes here, it picked up the styles which we have written on top. So that's how we can see the card, but then the card is not containing anything. So this we have to do the same thing with this card. So card has two children, which are video image and video info. So inside card, now I'm going to do, after this, since we have created both of them here, I'm going to do card dot append child video image, because that was the first thing, and I'm going to do video info. Save it. Yeah. And here we have this image tag. We haven't added that image tag here at all. So I'm going to copy that code and image and This does not have any class. So in case of an image, previously we added the class from by using the class list. So here I'm going to use image dot source, which is the src which we provided here too. So this source is going to be picked up from the playlist item. So playlist item dot thumbnail URL and save it. So this is the image. Now we have to append, yeah, we have appended this. So now this image should be added. So this image is actually inside the video image element. Video image dot video image dot, yeah, append child of image. Now we can see that the image is also present in the cards which we are seeing. So that's because this video image now has the image element which we created now. Yeah, we have also added the video info, but then this video info is not containing these two details. So that is where so first we will add video info dot append child, and then we will add first the light span because that was coming in the first position, and second we have the title. Do something wrong here. Yeah, okay, I'm adding it here. Second is the title span. I save it. We are getting only the we are getting only the name because we did not mention what is the value for the likes here. So like is actually mentioned here as in numbers. I'm going to pick that value using, yeah, same playlist item dot total likes. Here I can convert this to string by using something called as dot to string. When I save it, okay, in the text of title I've added text of title. Yeah, you can see yeah, that value is added here, and it is also converted into a string. But in our case we saw that we had it as 300 likes. So here, as I told you before, we can add a new string into with it, which is called as concatenation. I can type likes. We should also have a space before it. Yeah, yeah, without space, yeah, it's going to look very odd. Yeah, I've added the space. So now we can see that it says 300 likes. So this is how you will dynamically uh, create anything using JS. So we already created this same thing from the HTML itself. But in your page, any page that you're going to view, it's going to be dynamic. Even the YouTube, you can see whenever you refresh, it's going to have dynamic contents, right? So this is how they will create the elements. This might look a bit tedious. Uh, yeah, it is actually tedious. There is also a simpler way. Uh, it's I'm going to take this whole thing, save it. So instead of this whole code, it's create. This is what I'm going to call the function as. Okay. And also there is something wrong which I'm doing here. This shouldn't be done because I just said create video element. So what this should do is this should return the card which we have created. So yeah, return the card that we have created, and here we are going to save the card here, and then do the playlist What happens of card? So it's the same thing, but this is the more proper way, because you have written unwanted code, which when you are reading this function name, you're not able to understand that there is something called as adding this element into the playlist element is happening inside it, because all we are concerned about here is we are just creating a card. So yeah, this is how you should write. And yeah, this is one of the tedious ways. You won't be writing anything as such, it's going to be much simpler. We'll get there. Right. We saw that we have a property called inner text, right? We also have something called as inner HTML. So inner text actually takes in only the text of kind of values. So yeah, here if I try to put playlist element dot inner text and put something which looks similar to a uh, yeah, which looks similar to an HTML element, it's going to print that whole thing. It's not going to print something like a HTML. Like it's not going to create a div element and also have its value as this. Yeah, some wrongly typed thing. And yeah, this is not going to work out if you're using inner text. Instead of that, we have a property called inner HTML. So here, if I do the same thing, what did I do? Text in the div. Okay. Save it. Now it actually created a div and then added the text into it. So here we have this text. So this whole thing that we have written here is actually converted into a HTML. So that is what will happen when you try to add this string into the inner HTML property inside any element. So any element will have we have this playlist element here, which is referred by using this ID. So this property will be available in any element where you will specify this inner HTML, and so it means that we are adding it inside this playlist element, which is called as inner HTML. We also have something called as outer HTML. That's why I'm stressing that point. If I save it, yeah, now what happened is the outer HTML is something which will contain the playlist, this tag with playlist ID also. Now what happened is it actually removed the tag itself and replaced this new div tag which we have added. So people always need the inner HTML. So the outer is probably useful when you just want to have that whole tag with the actual parent tag itself. So yeah, that is the use. So inner HTML it actually creates this div of playlist and it will put this tag. So here, instead of creating all these things in a complex way, we have this template already created. So we can use that here, and you'll be seeing an error. I think I told you this. So if you want to use string in multiple lines, you have to use backtick symbol. You cannot use double quote or single quote here. Yeah, now you can see we don't have any error. So this is by using the backtick. Backtick is actually in the same key as tilde, which is above the tab. So this whole thing is going to be one string of multiple lines. I'm saving it, and yeah, you can see we have only one value here, one card here. That is because in our first iteration we set the value of inner HTML as this template, and for the second iteration too we are again reassigning the same value with the same template. So the first value which we had got overridden, and the second value is now the only thing that is visible in the screen. So that is not our expectation. So here I can use the same thing or as the assignment operator which says plus equal to, where we are going to take the inner HTML which already existed and we are going to append the newly coming string. So initially it's going to be empty and I save it. Yeah, now what happened is, so in every iteration it actually added this string to the string which was already present inside inner HTML, which is by default going to be empty. It's going to be empty string like this. So now first, in our first iteration where the value is 0, we are going to add this element. Again in our second iteration, we are going to add this template to the one which already has 1 in it. But you can see the value here is 300 for both, because this stamp template is hard coded, it's not having any real values. So it's going, how many times you're going to add this to the HTML, it's going to contain the same value because it is not dynamic. So that's where we'll use something called as template literal. So it's like, so this is called as a template, right? This way of writing a string in multiple lines using backtick is also referred as template strings. So in this, we are going to add a value by we can refer to any expression or any values by using the syntax, where we'll add a dollar